In 1966, Australian suburbs operated on a high level of public trust. Neighbors knew each other, front doors remained unlocked, and children routinely roamed outside without adult supervision. On January 26, Australia Day, 9-year-old Jane Beaumont, her 7-year-old sister Arnna, and 4-year-old brother Grant walked to a local bus stop in Somerton Park. They boarded a bus together for the short ride to Glenelg Beach. This map shows the route of their 5-minute journey. Their mother, Nancy, had established clear parameters for the outing. She provided the exact coin change needed for their fare and lunch and gave them a strict instruction to be home on the noon bus. Noon came and went. When the 2 o'clock bus arrived without the children, their parents launched a search of the packed beach and surrounding streets. They found no trace of them. Glenelg Beach was crowded with thousands of holiday-goers that afternoon, yet no one reported a struggle and no one heard any screams. 3 children had simply vanished in broad daylight, leaving investigators to wonder how they could be led away so quietly in a massive crowd. Organized predators generally avoid striking at random. Instead, they often scout specific targets, spending time observing routines and gradually de-escalating a child's natural sense of stranger danger. Weeks before the disappearance, 7-year-old Arnna had made an offhand remark to her mother. She mentioned that her older sister Jane had, quote, got a boyfriend down the beach. Nancy laughed it off as childhood imagination at the time, but as investigators looked closer at the weeks leading up to the holiday, that comment took on a different weight, suggesting that Australia Day wasn't the first time the siblings had met this person. If the children had been meeting a man at the beach throughout the summer, it meant the perpetrator had already established himself as a recurring, non-threatening character in their lives. This same pattern continued on Australia Day. Multiple eyewitnesses spotted the children near the beach playing in a sprinkler alongside a tall, blonde man in his mid-30s. By acting paternal and playful in a public space, the man effectively neutralized the suspicion of those around him. To a casual observer, he simply looked like a father enjoying the holiday with his children. This comparison highlights a significant break in the children's routine. On one side are the few loose coins Nancy provided for bus fare. On the other is the £1 paper note Jane handed to a baker at 12:20 p.m. to buy a meat pie and pasties. Nancy was certain she hadn't given the children a note of that value. It meant that at some point that morning, someone else had provided the money, an indicator that the children were now being funded by the adult witnesses had seen them with. Jane was known as a responsible and shy child who took her role as the eldest seriously. Her willingness to accept money from this man suggests that by midday, he had successfully gained her trust. Executing an abduction this quiet requires a specific type of offender. Investigators looked for suspects who fit both the behavioral profile of a patient groomer and the tall, athletic description provided by beachgoers. While notorious child killer Derek Percy is often linked to the case, he was only 17 years old in 1966. This significant age gap makes him an unlikely match for the mid-30s paternal figure described by witnesses. A closer match was Harry Phipps, a local businessman who lived just 300 meters from the beach. He physically resembled the police sketches and, according to later accounts, had a habit of handing out cash to children. Years later, claims from Phipps' own family led to several searches of his former factory site. In 2018 and 2025, crews used heavy machinery to perform extensive soil profiling excavations at the property. Despite digging down to the original soil level from the 1960s, these searches recovered only animal bones and industrial debris. No human remains were found, leaving the mystery of the children's final destination unsolved. The disappearance triggered the largest police mobilization in Australian history. Hundreds of officers and thousands of volunteers searched the coastline, sand dunes, and thousands of local homes. The public's desperation was so high that when a Dutch psychic claimed the children were buried under a warehouse, locals raised $40,000 to have the building demolished and the ground excavated. The search found nothing. Jim and Nancy Beaumont never moved. They kept the same address and phone number for decades, waiting for a call or a knock on the door that never came. Before this event, it was normal for children to navigate the city alone. After the Beaumonts vanished, that sense of security disappeared. Doors that had stayed open for generations began to be locked. The disappearance of Jane, Arnna, and Grant became the catalyst for the modern era of stranger danger. It fundamentally changed how Australian parents supervised their children, leaving a permanent mark of caution on the national identity.